This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas. Magazine publisher and entrepreneur Judith Mancini is sharing captivating conversations with experts in their field about the latest trends in our ever-changing world to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Judith Mancini Today will spark your interest and inspire you to lead your best life ever. And now, here's Judith.
Judith Mancini Today is sponsored by Basic Brands, Inc., providing the highest quality specialty products in the natural food industry. Visit basicbrandsinc.com and enter JMT15 for your 15% discount on your first order, including their best-selling product, Vitamin E Ointment, which helps restore moisture and elasticity to your skin. Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you doing? I'll take my glasses off for a minute. I want to say hello to my special friends that I've seen in the last couple of days. Friendship is something that helps us age. I know that sounds kind of funny, but for your mental well-being, which is just as important as your physical well-being, we need to have a network of people we can talk to. It doesn't have to be 100 people. It can be 2 or 3 people. It can be one person, but we do need the interaction of somebody other than just our spouse to talk to and share what's going on in our lives. You'll be surprised at the number of people who are interested in what you're doing and what you're doing with your family. And it will help both of you. So keep that in mind. And we want to I want to tell you what I have been doing this week, because I have been so honored to be able to be with some of my friends. 2 of them I saw for lunch and went to an art exhibit. Excuse me while I try to look even with you. 2 of them from my high school that I often speak about, Gardena High School, and how wonderful it was back in the day for us women of a certain age and some men of a certain age to go to such an outstanding school. You may think that sounds funny because not a lot of people remember those things. I don't often speak about my college life because I didn't really like where I was going and I quit early. So I speak about my high school a lot because we have made an effort to stay together, which is highly unusual. We have had reunions and even birthday parties for big major numbers as we grow older. We've had several of them and we go to different places. Sometimes we stay in California and go to an event center, restaurant, what have you, close by us. But other times we take a trip different places. There's been a cruise. We go to Las Vegas several times because people like to drive or they fly in from across the country, and it's really fun. So, of course, as we age, our group is dwindling, and we honor the memory of those friends who are no longer with us. But these girls are with me, and I have to tell you, we had a ball the other day, and our whole goal was to have lunch and catch up on our families and our memories and giggle and laugh a lot. And then we went up to Palos Verdes to see this wonderful collection of California art that has been collected through the years by the senior class of Gardena High School. So when they started doing this, the senior class would give a gift to the school. And there was an art teacher there who wanted children to know, teenagers to know, that there was something in life other than concentrating on making money and supporting families and knowing history and arithmetic and reading and all of that. He was a great art teacher, and he encouraged them to look at things. And so, starting in 1919 and going through 1956, these senior classes at Gardena High School in California started collecting art. They would look at the various collections from these various artists and choose one. Sometimes they bought them, sometimes they were gifted by the artists themselves to the student class. So this is a collection of 50 pieces of art that was organized by the Gardena High School Art Collection, Inc., in association with Gardena High School student body and curated by Susan M. Anderson. This exhibit is open in Palos Verdes. Now it's late in the exhibition period and it closes November 12th. So you want to get in your car and drive up there. There's some cute restaurants on the Palos Verdes Peninsula. You can have lunch, make a day of it, what have you. But there are 50 paintings in this collection, and it chronicles the history of the cultural scene in Los Angeles, revealing that a broader public than was previously known, one driven by educational rather than economic values, participated in the development of Southern California art. There are pictures of canyons, beach scenes, houses, people. There are a couple of paintings that I'm sure are very valuable that chronicles some of the Native Americans that have been in this area forever. No one seems to know why the school classes stopped doing this, but some people are kind of investigating that and seeing why that happened and what have you. But this is a traveling art exhibit, and it's going to the Carolinas after November 12th. So try to get up there and see this. It's a beautiful gift shop, by the way, also of things that are permanently in the gift shop from local artists too, that it's just outstanding. I was amazed at the beautiful collection. I had not had a chance to see it before, and it was a pleasant surprise. These are museum quality pieces. I mean, I'm talking about museums like LACMA here in Los Angeles and back in New York. So try to make some time and go visit this. You can go to pvartcenter.org to see the hours of when the collection is open. But I see that there are docent tours Tuesdays and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to noon. So you can see the history and hear the history of these paintings. Okay, so that is one reason I like to stay connected to my high school friends, besides being close to many of them. And it is so fun after so many years. We're coming up on our 60th reunion in 2024, 25. Excuse me, 25. I'm getting the election mixed up with our reunion. Okay, so that is my friendship. But here's another outstanding friendship that we will be personal to all of you. Sunday night, my husband and I were honored to be the guest at one of our friends' dinner parties. This friend has moved to the Midwest where she's lived before, and I don't get to see her very often. Every time she comes to LA, I do. We've been friends for, I would say, over 10 years now. Many of our friends have been friends for 40 years, 50 years. There were people in this room for this dinner party that were I would say in their 20s, mostly people that were in their 30s to 40s, 25 to 45, 50. But there were a couple of people that are our age in the adulthood, 70 and up. This was a celebration of life. And we often think of a celebration of life as being at the end of life when we have lost a dear one. Well, this very dear friend of mine had not told everyone, but she let everyone know that evening that she is suffering from cancer. And I don't know about anybody else. I did not know that. I hadn't spoken to her for a little bit. And I found this out, and it has devastated me. But what she wanted everybody to remember, and as all of you know, I lost my son last November, and it's coming up on the 1-year anniversary of that. And I have many, many sad days. But what this wonderful friend of mine wanted me to know, and everybody else in that room, is don't miss a day of joy in your life. Stay connected to your friends, your very best friends, and your just, I see you every 3-year friends. There's no words for when you are shocked by the loss of someone and you keep grieving. And it's our time of life that we have to say goodbye to a lot of people. But there were no tears at this dinner party. There was a lot of laughing. She passed the microphone around and everybody said what they did, what their goals were, what they had accomplished, which was very important to the young people because they saw so many people that were successful in life. And this is no just everyday girlfriend. This is an outstanding woman who has contributed a lot to her home of South Korea. She's a citizen of the United States. She came here with a some sort of diplomatic passport, and was a liaison between the US government and the South Korean government and many things. So she's a brilliant, beautiful woman, and she has made America her home, the United States, for many, many years and contributed to us for many years. And she's just an outstanding woman, and it was such a joy to hear these young people. She had mentored everybody in the room. And there were professors there were people in the art world, there were people in the entertainment field, there were people in science. It was amazing, amazing. I don't know that I've ever been in a room with so many knowledgeable, brilliant, successful people in my life whose focus was all on one person who had helped them so much in their life, including me. I discuss business with her all the time. That's how we met, at a ladies' luncheon, a social luncheon. And being a little crazy myself, I love to talk about business and what's going on in the world economically and politically and all. And we connected over this luncheon table, which was a beautiful ladies' luncheon, but we didn't engage too much in the girl talk, which I also love immensely. We talked about this, and out of that blossomed a friendship that has lasted over 10 years. And I'm devastated again, but no tears will be shed. We will remember the joy that she gave all of us, and we will stay in touch, and we will help each other through this period of our life. It's a lesson everyone should learn. I'm not suggesting you don't ever cry, because it's normal to cry and grieve when you lose somebody. So that is just a little tidbit that brightened mine and my husband's weekend. After all these dark couple of years, it was just a delight. And so thank you so much for having us at that wonderful party and including us. So that's what I wanted to say about friendship, but I also want to just move on to what we've done in our 50s. And many people retire in their 50s and don't know what they're going to turn to. Some people are working a lot longer today, too, for various reasons, because you no longer have to just work a certain number of years or a certain number of years at a company and expect to get the golden watch and then be happy, because we don't know if you're going to love being able to play bridge every day or golf every day or what you want to do. When my husband retired, he went into consulting, and he had been a CEO of a major vitamin and supplement company and moved on to some other industry positions and turned companies around. So he did that not only for the area that he was most familiar with in the retail of the supplements, he also expanded his consulting business into things like auto parts, totally unrelated to the supplement industry. So he was able to extend his working time and his interest in retail through other areas that were similar but not the same as what his lifelong career was. Now, I have to add this. I think I married him for this. When he was telling me about his life, he told me he had graduated from high school, went to college for a couple of years, finished that, decided he didn't want to continue school, so he volunteered for the United States Army. And why I'm saying United States Army is because my husband is a legal immigrant, and he came with his family from Italy when he was 13 years old. Didn't speak a word of English. He learned English by watching crazy television shows, like the Three Stooges and things that would speak slowly and laugh and all were amusing to a 13-year-old kid trying to learn English. So he mastered English, and he went into the Army after some college. So when he did that, he met a buddy from Alaska. And when their time was up, the new friend said to him, well, so since you don't know what you want to do with your career, why don't you come to Alaska with me and we will fish? Well, of course, my husband, he's not a big outdoors guy, but he said, what are you talking about? And my husband learned that this guy was connected in the crab fishing business. So he went up to Alaska for 2 years and became a crab fisherman, just like on the TV show, The Deadliest Catch. I always say to him, you know what? Why didn't you too do a television show back then? And it would still be going. That thing is still on television. So after that, he quit that. He didn't want to do it all his life, but it gave him a bundle of money in his pocket to take the time to decide what really interested him. And what interested him was retail. And he found out he was an expert at it. And it didn't come easy. He put in many, many hours and became very successful. And that's how he became CEO of several companies. And I'm telling you that because when he became CEO with this consulting business afterwards, it opened a whole nother field for him. And you just never know what's going to fall your way when you have these different interests in life. So that's just part of the story of my husband. You can talk for hours about him and the different things he's done. So what I want you to know, in your 50s, and I have to say, I got remarried to my husband when I was 50 years old. I have to tell you, in your 50s and early 60s, your life isn't over. You need to be engaged and engaging. And how you do that is with friends and buddies from your professions. You don't all have to be CEOs, by the way. The trades. When we went to high school, there was a drafting class that I took. I thought that was fascinating. There was auto mechanics, there were wood shop, things like that. And as you know from the Dirty Jobs guy, Mike Rowe, the trades are coming back. And they should come back because we have a shortage of experts and people in those fields. My goodness, a welder can make an absolute fortune these days because there aren't any. So I don't know where your interests lie, but maybe you were the kid who loved to build models when you were growing up. Maybe you liked to fly kites. Maybe you were in sports. Well, how about going and mentoring people in some of those fields? That would be interesting. You go to your child's, teenager's football games, starting out with flag football, starting with tennis lessons and things like that. All of these are ways to network and gain friends and companions. I'm very fortunate because I have a lot of very close friends, but I have an even bigger network of friends. And a lot of them I have met recently since we have moved and relocated for my husband's businesses. And I gained friends all over the country. I have such good friends in Pittsburgh. People are amazed, and we communicate with each other constantly. It's even easier. We used to talk on the phone all the time when after I left Pittsburgh with my husband, and we used to speak on the phone all the time. So now we have freed that up, and we don't have to just sit and chit chat on the phone because we're all very still involved in things. We send texts, we send messages on Facebook, we stay in touch. Some of them have even been on my show, Dishing with Judith, which you can find on iHeart, those stations, and look up Dishing with Judith. So I've been doing this for quite a while now, and I'm happy to be back where I started out on K4HD with my new show, Judith Mancini Today. And it excites me because now I've sort of pivoted from my original interviewing movie people, entertainment industry people, and authors all the time, although I still love to do that. I just don't do it for every show. And now I'm concentrating on helping you enjoy your adulthood, elderhood. These are titles coined by some authors that write books on aging. So I like to think it's not our second childhood, it's actually our adulthood. And we can have such fun and be entertaining to other people if we just join a few different things and feel your passion that maybe you've been thinking about ever since you were in school. What about somebody wrote a little article on astronomy, not astrology, which is legitimate for people who like to do that. Maybe that's your passion. But this was astronomy. And it actually said in this little blurb article, do you know, Grandma and Grandpa, Mom and Dad, about why we want the dark sky and how exciting it is to see the Milky Way? Well, I raised my kids from the age of 1 and 2 and 3. I only have 2 kids, but 3 years, 2 years between. So in Lake Tahoe, in North Lake Tahoe, and the skies were dark. You could see all the constellations, all the stars, the planets, everything. So we always had a telescope, and we would go out at night, and I'd have the children look at the stars and point out Orion's belt and the Milky Way and different things like that. So they always enjoyed it. It was always fun. Maybe it was because we had a campfire afterwards and had s'mores, but they loved it. So I have made a habit of when I give my grandkids gifts, I try to give them interesting educational gifts. And I became known as the grandma mama who always gave a book because I think reading is so important in your life. So that is another way to find like-minded people like you. You can get on the internet and find groups of all sorts of things. Maybe you're into gardening. You can go down to the local garden shop and say, do you have a group of people who are really interested in growing evergreens? Or do you have a group that really likes to try out different annuals instead of perennials? I want some more color in my yard. There's all sorts of things you can do. So when you were in your 50s, you were probably settled and maybe you had a partner, a wife, or a husband. Maybe you were still single. Maybe you didn't want to get married. Maybe you preferred to live by yourself. Maybe you were content to do that and just see people during cocktail hour or coffees or something. But it's been proven that people who live by themselves can slip into depression because they're not talking. And too many of these people are doing this today. And it could be because they never married, or they married late and have lost their partner, they divorced, they just didn't want to get married. I think it's very interesting to note that when a man loses his spouse, he usually remarries rather quickly. When he gets divorced, he usually gets married rather quickly, and he usually marries somebody that is so similar to the wife he divorced. It's fascinating to me. Now, when a woman becomes a widow or becomes divorced, she is out there socializing with her girlfriends or networking groups or what have you, because number one, there are so many women in this country that have never had a career or had one that was paying them enough fair money to live on. And maybe they didn't have any life insurance. Maybe they didn't have a nest egg built up. Maybe they, excuse my language, got screwed in a divorce. Maybe they made enough money they had to pay their ex. Okay, so there's different reasons, but a woman doesn't want to just jump right out there and get married. She might want to join a dating site. Men or women might want to do that. You have to be very, very careful and safe on those sites. I've never joined one myself, but I happen to know at least 3 women that were older, in their 50s plus, who did go on these dating sites for adulthood people, and they found the loves of their life after a divorce or after being widowed. So it does work. I know some young people that have done the same thing. And unfortunately, in our world, everybody seems to think they have to be going 24 hours a day, and they don't take time out to go out to a fun, inexpensive or expensive dinner or drinks. That's another way you can get a group together. Maybe you love Italian food or French food. You could start a group of your own and just put it out there on Facebook or whatever social media you use. Facebook is turning more towards the adulthood people, 50 plus, than it is millennials. They're not using it as much. So it's the perfect time to get yourself a Facebook account. Now, you don't have to reveal every single deep, dark secret of yourself on Facebook. You can be discreet. So you could try that. You can also join travel groups. There are some wonderful travel groups springing up for single people and for women that want to travel. Their husbands may be ill, I know several women who unfortunately have had to leave their husbands at home. They're close in age, but their husbands can't travel anymore. So they go off with a girlfriend or a couple of girlfriends. And there's all sorts of price ranges for this. So there's no excuse for you not to travel these days and see the world or see our country, except for the fact that we're heading for a recession and we're in the middle of a horrible inflation period. So I'm not suggesting that you take every penny you have saved and use it just to travel around and not leave yourself enough money to exist. So I try not to give you bad advice. And that reminds me, I'm going to give you a little bit of COVID advice or updates in the next period, but you always, whether I'm talking about something legal or medical or any kind of business advice, you need to confer with your experts in this field. Well, what I want to say right now is I think you need to be ambitious, optimistic, and energetic during this period. But you know what? You can't be if you sit on your bum and don't get moving around. And so I try to discuss health with you when I'm doing my shows, because without being healthy, you can't. I just don't know what to say. The internet keeps going in and out all the time. I don't know where I left off, whether you could hear me or not, but you can always watch the rerun on k4hd.com, then hit the YouTube station, or go to talk4tv.com and hit the YouTube station for the reruns. I hope that you were able to hear me, if not see me. And you can bet I'm going to be on the phone with Spectrum again, because I've had them out here time and time again, and this is just not acceptable. Interesting that they always bill you and you want to be paid, but they never want to credit you for the time down that you don't have. All right, so that's what I'm trying to tell you is be positive, be energetic, be optimistic. You know, I always wanted to be an astronomer or an archaeologist. And at this dinner party the other day, I met a cultural anthropologist, which I think is sort of like Margaret Mead, studying the people and talking to people. So I have to do a little more research on this, and she's highly educated, and she was a fascinating woman. So you don't know, maybe you want to pursue one of those dreams you had in the days of your youth. All right, so I want to tell you that I'm not finished traveling, and we took a wonderful trip. My husband and I did. We were the guest of my daughter and son-in-law and their 4-year-old and 8-year-old sons, and we went to Baja del Sur, which is the southern part of the Baja Peninsula, Baja, California, Baja, going all the way down there. And we flew into San Jose del Cabo and went to a little fishing village called, I hope I say it correctly, Barrios, which is a fishing village, and they have a huge fishing tournament once a year, and there's been movies made about it. So we had an authentic Airbnb that was sort of like an adobe house on this piece of property where goats were running around and chickens and cute dogs. And it was rustic, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. It was painted beautifully, it was decorated beautifully, and of course it had all the amenities. This wasn't camping. There was plumbing, there was air conditioning, a little patio to sit on. So that was very fun. And we took the van that we had, that they had rented, and we piled into it. And during the day, we would go exploring around that area. Now, this is north of Cabo San Lucas on the coast, on the Sea of Cortez. And we were bumping along in the roads, and it was so much fun with the children because they could see the cows and the horses and the goats coming up to the roads. We were on 1-lane or 2-lane dirt roads going to these isolated beaches, but then it would open out and you'd see all these people on these beaches where they were snorkeling, and maybe they had some little palapas that were serving food and cooking over the barbecue. It was so much fun. Of course, I've always loved Mexico because I've taken my children all over Mexico to teach them the history of our southern neighbors. So in every year of my life, practically, I have gone someplace in Mexico. So I've seen a lot of it and taken my kids to the pyramids and shown them the murals in Mexico City and all. But now we are exploring the southernmost part of Baja California. So we then left our little fishing village and we went for the last 4 nights, I can't remember, to another Airbnb that was in San Jose del Cabo, closer to the airport for when we were leaving. And we once again decided to go exploring, and we decided to go to La Paz, which is the capital of that southern state in Mexico. There's 2 states on Baja California, and La Paz is the capital. It's not as developed and fancy smancy as Cabo San Lucas. It is a working city with the government and just now being developed. It, of course, has people there and homes, lovely homes, and restaurants along the Malecon. Very fun, beautiful beaches. There was one that was state-owned that had excellent snorkeling. They even had tours from San Lucas Cabo San Lucas, come down on the boats for the snorkeling trips. And we spent a day on the beach there, and it was difficult to get to, but wonderful, wonderful scenery and people. So, everybody's moving out of California. Do you know why everybody's moving out of California? Crime and taxes. Taxes are ridiculous in the state of California. Property taxes, sales tax, gas taxes for the fuel in your cars and trucks. It's prohibitive to live here anymore. I love my state of California, the Golden State, but it's not golden anymore. It's tarnished. And I'm looking for an adventure in life, and so is my husband. So we thought, I'm sure because my daughter and her husband are considering this, we thought we'd go and live in Mexico for 6 months. Now, there's schools in Mexico that you can send your children to, and they're good schools. So this is not like living in the middle of the jungle or the middle of the desert someplace. There are amenities. There are wonderful fresh fish in all of these places. So we're looking forward to having an adventure in our adulthood. Maybe we won't do it. Maybe we will. We have a little while to decide. So that's something that we're considering. And we have a lot of people that are moving out of state to Arizona and Nevada, Florida. And there's something going on with people who do live by themselves for whatever reason. Maybe they have forever, and maybe they've just not found the right partner in later life. And this is one of the key worries of aging adults. What do I do when I'm not me anymore? And I don't have the circle of friends because they're moving away. I'm not sure where to move to. I don't know if I can make new friends. My family, my siblings are passing away because we're all older. I have no family left. What's going to happen to me? Should I move into a 55 plus area? Should I stay at home? Am I going to have to get a caretaker in? Who can I go to dinner with on Saturday night or Friday night or Wednesday night or Monday night? Who's going to watch a football game with me if I'm into football? It's not just a problem that's key to men. It's a problem for women also. And we need to help these people, our friends that are feeling lonely, and see what we can do to help them. You can start a business at home. You can meet people that way. At any rate, I will talk about all of that in my next show and maybe have some people on that can tell you what they are doing to stay engaged and engaging in their adulthood. We're still working on that website, and I just want to keep reminding you that I'm going to let you know when it's up and running and ready for you to look at it. Golden years, golden fears. All right, well, that does it for me today. I'm a little early, but I want to get on that spectrum. This happened this month, this week, and last week. This is just, I apologize for it profusely. So I will have to see what's going on. Thank you for tuning in today. Remember, cherish yesterday, dream tomorrow, and live today. Thank you for joining me.